Guys, so if you've been following closely American politics, you would notice that there's a loud war going on between AOC and Donald Trump. Their war has been online mostly, and it's been back and forth on Twitter and Truth Social, even going as far as, referring to where they are coming from. And today, we're actually going to look and investigate further into the matter. Do they claim to be from where they come from, especially AOC? And why is AOC going after Trump? Is she solidifying her position to run for presidency in 2028? Well, we're gonna find answers, but before that, let's take a listen.
This bill is a deal with the devil. This bill represents the largest and greatest loss of health care in American history. 17 million Americans, not undocumented people, not quote unquote the disgusting term illegal, but 17 million Americans. On this point of tax on tips, as one of the only people in this body who has lived off of tips, the cap on that is $25,000, while you're jacking up taxes on people who make less than $50,000 across the United States. So if you're at home and you're living off tips, you do the math. Is that worth it to you? Losing all your health care, not able to feed your babies, not being able to put a diaper on their bottom in exchange for what? This bill is a deal with the devil. It explodes our national debt. It militarizes our entire economy, and it strips away healthcare and basic dignity of the American people for what? To give Elon Musk a tax break and billionaires the greedy taking of our nation. We cannot stand for it, and we will not support it. You should be ashamed.
Okay, so Bronx is trending on Twitter right now because there's this whole thing going on between Trump and AOC. Trump sent a tweet out to AOC, and you can read it all there if you want to read it. I just think his messages are so funny. But she responded, she said, "Also, I'm a Bronx girl. You should know that we can eat Queens boys for breakfast, respectfully." But now everybody's going crazy all over Twitter because they're saying she's not actually from the Bronx. Michael Knowles posted this. He said, "The town in blue is the suburb I grew up in. The town in red is, quote unquote, the richer, wider suburb AOC grew up in. The area in the black circle way down at the bottom, that's the Bronx." I also saw this other tweet that I thought was pretty funny. It says, "AOC is from Yorktown Heights, which is the northernmost town in Westchester. This is like someone who graduated from Pasadena High School saying they're from Compton. Socialists are bizarre people." I just thought the whole thing was kind of funny. But yeah, it's always fun to look through these comments and see what people are saying. But what do you guys think about this whole situation?
So if you're at home and you're living off tips, you do the math. Is that worth it to you? Losing all your health care, not able to feed your babies, not being able to put a diaper on their bottom in exchange for what? This bill is a deal with the devil. It explodes our national debt. It militarizes our entire economy, and it strips away healthcare and basic dignity of the American people for what? To give Elon Musk a tax break and billionaires.
Dude, could you imagine more AOCs and more Zorons like being prominent speakers in the fucking Democratic Party as opposed to Hakeem Jeffrey and Chuck Schumer? Like, you don't have to love AOC. You could say she's a revisionist or blah, 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 all this and that. But just imagine if, like, the driving force behind the Democratic Party was the AOCs of the world. And if that was the case, if they were the center mass of the Democratic Party, then there would be infinitely more radical figures on the edges. The new AOCs would be far more left-leaning than AOC herself even. Like, AOC should be the baseline of the party. What she is saying here should be the active communication that you're hearing from a real counterbalance, counterweight, real opposition party in this country.
I think this is one of the saddest days in modern American history. This is the largest one
of the saddest days in modern American history. The saddest day in modern American history because we are extending tax cuts, adding tax deductions on tips and overtime, filtering out the garbage in Medicaid and food stamps, securing our border, Like, what's so sad about this?
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win.
The big, beautiful bill has officially passed. I believe it went to Trump's desk and he signed it into law. It is now official. The big, beautiful bill is what was coined by the Republicans about Donald Trump. And a lot of people have a lot to say about it. You know, it's convoluted and confusing. You never know who's right. You never know who's lying to you. You never know who's telling the truth. Everybody has their side and everybody wants this to be right and this to be wrong because the Republicans believe this, so they got to say this, or the Democrats believe this, so they got to say this. But what I will say is that from what I see from the big, beautiful bill, I think it does create a lot of sustainable things for what conservatives want and what Trump promised moving forward. It's not perfect. Yeah, it's going to add to the deficit in part. You know, it's funny that when people don't like the economists or the economists are arguing on their side, they believe the economists. When the economist disagrees with them, they don't believe the economist. People say that Donald Trump was going to create a catastrophe in his first administration economically, and the economist said that he was going to raise it. The economist said, and then Donald Trump had the best presidency of anybody economically just about in a very long time. So the economists are not always right either. You have to take what they say with a grain of salt. Yeah, Elon Musk is bitter and upset about spending. Well, man, look, Tesla didn't get to where they at by saying we're going to eliminate all of our debt. Tesla got to where they're at borrowing money. They almost went bankrupt. At some point, you got to borrow a little bit of money here and there. You may have to go in a little bit more of a debt, but if you have a solution to the problem, a little bit of debt can take you a long way, if that makes sense. Just like our company, we may need to do something like, for instance, if we buy a product, we turn the product around, we make 70% on the product. Hypothetically, that's not a product we have, but if we did. So you may be in debt already, but you say, look, here's an opportunity we cannot refuse. Let's get this product. The product turns around and then we make a profit on the product. So in the interim, we go in a little bit of debt to get an explosion of success. And sometimes you got to take that risk.
Bronx girl roots into question. The president ripping into the Democrat for the rise in crime and poverty in her district after she called for his impeachment.
I never thought I would say this, but the longer President Trump governs the way he's governing, the more likely he's making the presidency of AOC.
While most opposition leaders have chosen to stay silent, one representative, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has been having a very firm stance on the healthcare cuts in Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. While President Trump endorses the Big Beautiful Bill, which bulldozes its way through Congress, Representative AOC has emerged as one of those fiercest and most principled opponents. Following that, it has drawn AOC's attention, and she's not wrong. The bill is more of a moral catastrophe masquerading as physical reform. The heart of the fight comes from Medicaid and SCA, which is under siege. The bill also slashes over $1 trillion from healthcare spending, with the lion's share, more than $800 billion, coming from Medicaid. It also cuts into key provisions of the Affordable Care Act, which is ACA, which includes eliminating automatic enrollment, shortening the open enrollment period, and adding burdensome income verification requirements, and also streaming coverage from lawfully present immigrants. According to the non-partisan Congressional Budget Office and KFF, these changes would result in up to 17 million Americans losing healthcare insurance by 2034. That's just not a number. It's a death sentence for many. I'm not saying there are gonna be 17 million deaths in the coming decade, but I'm just saying like it's a death sentence for many. Well, in her speech, AOC dismantles the bill as a stance of the bill stems from the no tax on tips provision, which is just like a sugarcoat on what is different from what Americans expect. As one of those few members of Congress who's actually lived off tips, she calls this a scam, as we've listened. Now, she goes ahead and says that the cap on this bill is $25,000, while she claims this is jacking up of taxes on people who make less than $50,000 across the USA, while taking away their Medicaid, while kicking them off the ACA and their healthcare extensions. Before we even dissect AOC's claims further, we're gonna listen to more opinions and also dig deeper in her origins and why she's going back and forth with Donald Trump.
Okay, so someone asked me to expose AOC and to give her background. Say less. So AOC, also known as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she is U.S. representative of New York's 14th Congressional District. So the way she portrays her life is in such a woe is me. I was in a working class. I lost my father at a young age. I had to work to help pay the bills. I came from the Bronx. I'm a Bronx girl. But in actuality, she was born in Parkchester, Bronx, moved 40 minutes north of the Bronx. She grew up in the suburbs, Westchester County, which now homes are selling for like $900,000 for perspective. AOC attended Yorktown High School, a very prominent high school, again, in the suburbs, but she's a Bronx girl. So back in 2019, when she was running in office, she said that she would be portraying and representing the working class. And I find that ironic because her father was an architect. She was actually from a middle class family, and her father, that small owned business that he owned, he founded an architectural firm. His architectural firm's name is Kirschbaum and Ocasio Roman Architects PC. So most of her campaigning is about how she was a bartender. She had to work to help provide for her family after her father's passing. Her father passed from lung cancer, but in 2008, she was a sophomore in college at that time. So after her father's passing, the company that he started, it didn't just end. It's still in existence, bringing in like over $500,000 revenue annually. Even if she were to work as a bartender to help pay the bills, wouldn't you think that she would attend college nearby in New York and not out of state at a private university, Boston College? Boston College currently costs $93,000 for out-of-state students. So when AOC is in front of minority groups, I notice her accent changes. She starts using words like ain't. So she was in front of a minority group and she's saying, I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You're right, AOC, there is nothing wrong with being a bartender, but what is wrong is changing your dialect and your tone to suit the audience that you're thinking appeases to them. The Democratic Party I find funny because it has a tendency to just have their people switch up accents based on who they're talking to. Jasmine Crockett does the same thing, and so does Kamala Harris. So what's my message? My message here is it's okay to relate to people, but it's another to just lie about your upbringing to appease to people that you think will relate to you. There's no need to be ashamed of your upbringing, how you were raised. Talk about the actual history of how you were raised. But to say you're from the Bronx, you come from a working class, a small business owner that your father was, it's just not accurate. So my personal opinion, another plant in the Democratic Party.
Did you guys see New York State Assemblyman Matt Slater call out AOC when she said that she's a Bronx girl? She eats boys like President Trump from the Queens for breakfast. Because apparently she's not even from the Bronx, she's from Yorktown, and it's almost like everybody just wants to be from the Bronx.
You know, the president is from Queens, and with all due respect, half of my district is from Queens. I don't think he knows how to deal with a girl from the Bronx.
It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block.
I mean, it's totally fine. All the politicians pander, even Senator Kennedy. Like, we know that he's educated and he doesn't really talk like that, but at least he's funny about it. I'm just really tired of these people acting tough. Like, even Jasmine Crockett went to an all-girl Catholic school in Missouri.
About white privilege. It was a spit in the face, at least of mine as a black woman, for you to talk about what white privilege looks like, especially from that side of the aisle. I'm still Jenny from the block.
Who do these people think they're lying to? God bless. God bless America.
So AOC finally responded to that very real high school yearbook photo that's been floating around. You know, the one where she's a smiling honor student in leafy suburban Yorktown Heights. That's right. Bronx born? Well, technically. Raised in Westchester since age 5? Also. Yes. Graduated Yorktown High in 2007 right alongside orthodontists and second home bangers. And the photo? A super polished headshot with her real name, Sandy Ocasio. And now that it's resurfaced, she's not clarifying, she's doubling down. She literally called critics embarrassing themselves for questioning her working class Bronx girl claims, even though she lived in the Bronx fewer years than she's been in Congress. I mean, imagine someone calling themselves a Detroit kid after moving to the suburbs before kindergarten. That's not a vibe. That's a branding strategy. But it gets better because she says that her identity is still shaped by the Bronx because her family is from there. Sure. And I'm shaped by Hogwarts because I read Harry Potter. Look, if AOC wants to rep the Bronx, that's fine. But don't just forget about Yorktown because it doesn't pull well. Call it what it is. Congressional cosplay with a hint of PR flair.
So the moment you guys have been waiting, is AOC really from the Bronx or is she also sugarcoating her origins? Well, before we even verify that information, we have to look at why are leaders always wanting to associate themselves with certain areas of the state or of the country. It's simply because, like, let's take a reference of the rappers. They always want to associate themselves with the tough areas, where we've seen for the longest that when someone comes from a tough area, they have that street credits. And when someone comes from suburban areas, then and the people feel like they are softies. They cannot relate with the people who are from that very area. So lately, AOC's arguments have always been referring that she is from the Bronx, and people have been wondering why is she's from the Bronx. For the longest, people have believed that she is from the Bronx, and we've seen articles in the media always saying that she is from the Bronx. It seems like the people from the Republican side did not take this news very well, or this reference very well. Currently, there's a video on YouTube which is going viral where someone went to the Bronx to actually, do a research and to verify if AOC is actually from the Bronx. His findings, it's not really a shock. Despite AOC coming from New York, it suggests that she seemingly doesn't come from the Bronx. Well, how so? It's because it has been proven, especially from where she was schooling, that she was not there. In the year playbook that we have seen from one of those videos that we have featured in this segment today, it seems like AOC might have been born in New York. She has been associated with the suburban areas of New York and also Manhattan, and not the Bronx. So does it give her the street credits that she deserves? I don't know. If you are a national leader and you want people to associate with you and you come from a certain area, definitely you'd want to generalize where you're coming from. I really do think that AOC did not play her cards well, especially every time claiming she comes from the Bronx. I really do think she would have said one time, and when people would actually now say that she is from there, she would leave that alone and just focus on New York as a whole. It seems like she's following the script from Kamala Harris, where she wants to associate with the black community as much. Given that she wants to launch her bid in 2028, as it seems, maybe she wants to use that as a leverage. But well, her fight with Donald Trump is a funny one, because she says that girls from Bronx eat up boys from the Queens, which is referring to where Donald Trump might be coming from. Her fight has been for the longest. She has taken the bill of impeachment for Donald Trump. She's been against the big beautiful bill, which I do think that this time round about the big beautiful bill and the healthcare cuts, I'm with her, because this thing has been sugar-coated as one that is going to cut off undocumented migrants from the healthcare system, but in reality, it's the American people who are gonna suffer. And so I really do think that I'm gonna stand with her there. But trying to win a political seat from saying that you are from an area you are not from, I really do think that is wrong. I know power has to be taken in all means possible, and I understand the grind, but every time referring to I am from the Bronx, I'm the Bronx girl, it kind of seems cringe. But anyways, that is that. Everyone has a freedom of expression or speech. It's the land of the free. Much has been said. Do you think that AOC comes from the Bronx? Do you think that AOC is gonna win the 2028 presidential election? Let me know what you do think in the comment section down there below. Don't be afraid or don't hesitate to share your opinions. Also, don't forget to go and check the original creators. Their usernames have been embedded in the Stitch videos as always. Go on to their TikToks, follow, like for this channel. Make sure you smash a huge thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on post notifications so that you may not miss my next upload. Let me meet you in the next one. Peace out.